CIS is a big part of the control set. In fact, it's well over half of the total number of controls. When I look at a CIS control, I always tell people, like, forget all the things that you might need to do. And remember one thing: what's the intent behind what is being asked of you to do? Not all the things that might seem like you need to do, but like, what was the intent? So when they say things like two-factor authentication, or they say you should have 26 character passwords, I don't think anybody says that except those of us that say you should have as big a password as you can. But the reality is, like, if you think through the intent, usually you can obtain what is intended by the question, right? No two companies are the same size. Mm-hmm. No two companies are the exact same in revenue necessarily. And the point is, these are going to be implemented or interpreted uniquely per MSP based on their portfolio, their posture, their, like, fill in the blank, right? So this is more about what you do with the environment you do have, not us dictating what environment you need to have. So we're not going to tell you that you need to have a brick and mortar office. I think that if you have a brick and mortar office and everybody works out of that, in some respects, it's a lot easier to navigate, because you may only have to have one policy for something like firewall and network security, and network access control may be very limited if everything is out of that brick and mortar model. CIS, by its very nature, lacks a few things. It doesn't talk about environmental and physical security. It doesn't talk about governance and leadership. And quite honestly, while it talks a lot about having a policy or documentation within a control, it really doesn't talk about things like SSPs, or system security plans, or written information security plans. And I'm not saying that to say, oh, please go write one tomorrow. That's not what I'm saying. But we actually have a category in there that's actually just called policies and procedures. Governance. Because what we don't want to see is, like, man, there's 170 some controls in here, and I've got to write a policy for each one. No, that's not what we're saying. I also don't want you to think that you have to write a policy specific to just the control. You may already have a policy that has inclusion for things that might show up throughout. So let those live independently of the controls themselves and bring them in as you see fit.
Right. And the other job is going to be to be able to look at your documentation, to ensure that change management has happened, that these have been governed, that you just didn't download, copy, paste, and pretend like you've been doing this for years. And they're going to read that and be able to align it to the framework where applicable.